Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession and the Chancellor.
I declare that the 570th Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Jeremiah Hurley, Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences. And this morning, I have the great pleasure of welcoming all of you, graduates and your guests, to this convocation ceremony. I would like to start by recognizing and acknowledging that we meet today on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. As Dean, let me emphasize how proud we are of you, our graduates, and of all your notable accomplishments in the last few years. One of the most gratifying aspects of being an educator is to witness the transformation take place as students advance in your studies, gain the skills, confidence, and experience that will serve as a foundation for lifelong learning. McMaster prides itself on being a research-intensive, student-centered university, consistently ranked as one of the best universities in the world. And in the Faculty of Social Sciences, we take both of these qualifiers seriously. As a student-centered university, we have an unwavering commitment to excellence and innovation in undergraduate education. This commitment manifests itself in numerous ways throughout all our programs, and most recently is perhaps best exemplified by the integration of active learning principles made possible by our new active learning classrooms in the L.R. Wilson Hall. Many of you I know will have taken a class in those rooms this past year. But these technologically advanced classrooms enable students' active engagement in their learning through problem-focused questions. And such active learning reflects our commitment to the twin pillars of social sciences education: understanding and engagement. On the one hand, we've strived to provide you with the concepts, ideas, frameworks, and skills needed to understand the key challenges facing Canadian society and indeed our global community. Immigration, the role of religion in society, political divisiveness, economic inequality, environmental degradation, all of these are at root social problems best understood through the lenses of the social sciences. But being able to analyze such problems to gain a greater understanding is not enough. You must be equipped to engage with others, from your families and friends to the international actors, to bring about the desired change that truly advances societal well-being. And this is what we strive for. And such genuine engagement then leads to greater insight and understanding. Hence our twin reinforcing pillars of understanding and engagement as foundations for the social sciences education. And we hope in your last 4 years that through these kinds of learning opportunities, combined with your extracurricular activities, you've been able to experience an exceptional student life, and that you've gained a full set of skills needed both in your professional life and to make you the kinds of engaged citizens that foster a vibrant society dedicated to the well-being of all of our communities. At this time, I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of the notable leaders joining me on stage today. Dr. Susanne Labarge, Chancellor, Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. David Wilkinson, Provost, Vice President Academic, and today's Master of Ceremonies. Ms. Mary Williams, Vice President, University Advancement, and Associate and Assistant Deans, Chairs, Directors, Faculty members, and honored guests. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask that everyone in the hall switch off any electronic device that you've brought with you so that it doesn't beep during the ceremony. And now I'd like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Susanne Labarge, to make her own welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in you being here today. You have achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations, and enjoy the ceremony.
I am Dr. David Wilkinson, Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. I have the great pleasure this morning of being your Master of Ceremonies. I would first like to welcome Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, to the podium, who will be presenting the honorary degree recipient.
Madam Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes is one of Canada's most influential scholars and advocates in the increasingly important and impactful field of population health and health geography. He grew up in Hamilton in the kind of neighborhood that would certainly be identified as being an impediment to the development of good health and well-being among its residents. Dr. Hayes has worked throughout his career to address and to close the gap between the have-not and the have areas in our society. The progress he has made is one of the most quietly important movements in Canada over the last few decades. Dr. Hayes graduated from McMaster for the first time in 1979 with a BA in geography, following that with his MSc in health sciences and a PhD in geography. His first faculty position was at Simon Fraser University, where he worked for 22 years. At SFU, he served as Associate Dean of Research and led the process of founding and building the Faculty of Health Sciences. In 2010, he accepted a position at the University of Victoria, where he is now the Director of Health Research and Education. Dr. Hayes focuses on research that merges rigorous health scholarship with effective policy engagement, and as a result, he helped develop the field of population health in Canada. He has established that social inequalities play a profound role in determining long-term mental and physical health, and identified, for example, that early socioeconomic adversity apparently increases the risk of cardiovascular disease and depression later in life. He's a pioneer who helped bring this perspective into the public policy conversation, and his approach is now entrenched through initiatives like the Public Health Agency of Canada and the Institute of Population and Public Health. Dr. Hayes has served on the Provincial Medical Health Officers Advisory Committee, the Caribbean Advisory Committee of the Canadian Public Health Association, the BC Health Research Foundation, the Public Health Promotion Expert Advising Group of the Public Health Agency of Canada, the BC Ministry of Health, eHealth Privacy and Security Steering Committee, and several task groups of the Federal, Provincial, Territorial Advisory Committee in Population Health and Health Security. Dr. Hayes was the inaugural North American editor of the scholarly journal Health and Place, and has also authored 3 books on health geography in Canada and more than 60 published papers on health inequities, environmental health, and public policy. A member of the McMaster Alumni Gallery since 2011, he has also been a distinguished visitor for the Government of Canada's Cultural Personalities Exchange Program and the Lansdowne Visiting Scholar at the University of Victoria. Madam Chancellor, it is an honor to present one of your fellow McMaster alumni, a McMaster graduate whose defining influence on the way Canadians think about public health and public health programs has helped improve the health of Canadians from coast to coast. I ask that you recognize that important contribution to our society by conferring upon Michael Hayes the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Michael Hayes, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa in McMaster University with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. Sign here. I would now like to invite Dr. Hayes to deliver the convocation address.
Just in case. Madam Chancellor, President Dean, honored guests, graduates, family, and friends. I wish I could find the words to express how moved I am by this honor and to describe the deep and profound meaning that it has for me. As a younger person, I never imagined myself even worthy of attending university. I dropped out of high school at age 16, despite the warnings that I had from others that I was making a great mistake. I was 16. By definition, I already knew everything. But about a year and a half later, after working in jobs that I hated and getting involved with injecting drugs, I realized I had made a great mistake. And in the first week of January, 1973, I went to my old high school and I begged the vice principal to let me back in. In returning to high school with a different attitude, I found that my courses were actually interesting, and made even more so by the fantastic teachers that I had the pleasure to encounter. To my absolute astonishment, my application to McMaster University was accepted, and in 1975, I nervously entered my first year with the support of a bursary that I'd received from the Hamilton Community Foundation. About 5 weeks later, the most incredibly profound, fascinating thing happened to me. I met my life partner, Lillian Bain, my wife and mother of our two beautiful children, Elliot and Oliver. As undergraduates, we had magical academic experiences. We also became very involved in student life. We were both elected to the Student Representative Assembly. We organized and participated in student protests just to stand up for what we believed in. We ran a coffee house on campus. We put on concerts. Lillian volunteered for the Silhouette. I worked at the radio station. We played intramural baseball, and we actually managed to graduate. As an undergraduate, I'd been exposed to courses in medical geography and decided that health research was what I wanted to do. I applied to the graduate program here at Mac in the Department of Clinical Epidemiology, but I wasn't accepted on my first try because the admissions committee could not understand what geography had to do with epidemiology. But I managed to get in the next year, and eventually I took a course called Population Health, the first course of its kind in Canada. The central focus of that course was the observation that had recently been made in the UK that social gradients in health had been observed across occupational classes there in a new report on health that had just been released. That report, the Black Report, raised so many important questions about how and why social gradients in health were produced. Turns out, social gradients in health have been found in all countries, and they've been observable ever since we started collecting health data organized by social characteristics. But no one was talking about that. I stayed at Mac to do my PhD to pursue interests in population health, which at its center takes a life course perspective in health outcomes and tries to understand the ways in which the simultaneous interplay of our biology, our social position, and the environments that we inhabit shape human health experiences. As I was finishing my PhD, I applied for a job at Simon Fraser University. I got an interview, and to my great surprise, I was offered a job, an academic job, doing health research in the beautiful city of Vancouver. I was a medical geographer. The only problem was I couldn't live with that title, medical geographer, because I'd come to understand that medicine was just one of many factors shaping the health experiences of populations. So I changed the title to health geographer and helped establish the journal Health in Place, because at the time, the only research vehicle in my domain was called social science and medicine. As an assistant professor, I was asked to write a plan by a task group on the future of health studies at SFU. My report, which took a population health perspective, was roundly and soundly criticized by my SFU colleagues. I felt defeated. I became depressed, and I thought about quitting my job. After all, I didn't belong at university. But I persevered with the help of Lillian and my then PhD student, friend, and now colleague, Dr. Jim Dunn, who McMaster is fortunate to have as one of its professors. About 8 years later, lo and behold, I was given the opportunity to start a brand new Faculty of Health Sciences based on population health principles. I chaired 40 academic search committees, trying to find researchers who were interested in lots of different aspects of this puzzle, from epigenetics right through to global health, but all of them interested in understanding the way in which our biology, our social circumstance, and the environments that we inhabit shape our health experiences. Then, a short time later, the University of Victoria created a position for me and moved me away from SFU, giving me the opportunity to live and work, or to work, I should say, in the city in which I was living. And let me tell you, living and working in the same city has a lot going for it. I want to leave you with 3 things that I've learned from these experiences. First, do not give in to feelings of hopelessness or despair. Perhaps my darkest day was when I was 17, and I realized how humiliatingly stupid I was, and ending my life seemed a viable option. When I allowed myself to feel the support of those around me who loved and cared about me, hopelessness gave way to challenge, and challenge gave way to opportunity. Remember, you are surrounded by people who love and care about you. There is always hope. Second, believe in yourself. If you feel passionately and deeply about a pursuit, pursue it. Listen to the views of others and keep an open mind. But at the end of the day, if a fire burns in your belly about something that you feel is not right or unfair or just turned your crank, pursue it. Believe that, have the courage to believe that you can make a difference. Finally, be a positive force. When my convocation in 1979, Stephen Lewis, envoy to Africa, an outspoken advocate in the fight against HIV there, was awarded an honorary degree by this Faculty of Social Science. Oh, how honored I feel to now hold that same degree. He told us that by global standards, we had an elite education and an opportunity to use that education to be a positive force in the world. His words stayed with me, and I hope they will stay with you. By positive force, I don't mean it's your responsibility to change the course of history, but you can change the course of other people's lives by being supportive, respectful, joyful, and creatively challenging. If we live by that standard, we improve the well-being of those around us, while at the same time improving our own well-being. And how positively wonderful is that? Thank you for listening. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hayes. It is a unique privilege to actually give somebody their 4th degree from McMaster. So it's just to point out that although Dr. Hayes has moved away from us, we plan to tie him even closer to us. And we're grateful to have been able to do it. Dr. Hayes is a remarkable man. I mean, his accomplishments are enormous. And I'm sure all of you are saying, yeah, I mean, we're giving him an honor. He's unusual. He's smarter than I am. He's worked harder. He did something different. But if you listen to his conversation, his talk today, it really is using the education he got here, but combined it with curiosity, thoughtfulness, courage, and perseverance. That's something we can all develop. And I hope that all of you can benefit from what you heard from Dr. Hayes today. Congratulations again, Dr. Hayes.
Dr. Patrick Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable. May I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study, but who are not present.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees in McMaster University with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to you all. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if during the presentation of the graduands, you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Lisa Watt. Dina Abul Fotu. Dina Elizabeth Simonetto. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Master of Arts. Ijeoma Helen Ujobi. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduate of the degree Master of Social Work. Donna Martha Lazarus.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts Honours. Rebecca Naomi Abelson. Kira Lynn Adams. Taskin Aluwalia. Rafai Ahmed. Molly Marie Ahrens. Karine May Alavata. Sarah Amaro. Ashley Apia Kubi. Natalie Marie Armstrong. Sophia Alexa Aniotis. Jessica Faith Arth. Anika Aslam. Hiba Hikmat Atari. Caitlin Michelle Auld. Naira Saeed Awan. Paula Andrea Baez Fuentes. Shabina Bahia Rafan. Katie Baldwin. Hydra Bakwa. Atia Bashiasade. Sherry Bassi. Dagmara Bejashek. Nicholas Belor. Nicole Savannah Audrey Blanchard. Elizabeth Bostwick. Caitlin Elizabeth Brockbank. Amber Reen Brown. Carly Diane Brown. Catherine Brown. Kiana Brown. Brandon Bruno. Colin Andrew Bousset. Lindsay Marie Butler. Victoria Elise Butler. Emily Nicole Byford. Kate Michelle Louis Cancerin. Maria Sol Carmano. Catherine Sophia Koji. Madison Seelan. Tessa Elizabeth Chalmers. Sophia Chan. Fang Chen Chen. Susan Chu. Emily Church. Kristen Danielle Cocchiara. Kalisha Marie Coleman. Stuart Collins. Lacey Culver. José France Como. Bethany Marisa Correa. Connor Ben Coltrop. Natalie Craig. Nicholas Andrew Krapinsek. Kiara Leslie Cruikshank. Grace Elizabeth Curry. Jessica Dulis. Jennifer Akia Davis. Brittany Davey. Adisa Deliovsky. Kayla Dionaren. Kayla Rachel Dumais Diosaran. Zachary Diaz. Ricky Digou. Carly Michelle Dillon. Katrina Di Pucchio. Nicole Olina Di Vincenzo. Edward Lionel Donato. Erin Dunn. Samantha Edwards. Dirman Amin. Diana Iskander. Melanie Extance. Yvonne Feifrovsky. Rania Farid. Maham Farouk. Samantha Ferrier. Megan Julia Filgiano. Robin Fishbein. Ashlyn Floyd. Kyla Elizabeth Forbes. John Mark Foster. Christina Gale. Jenna Gaskin. Jordan Lynn Gaynor. Aman Gill. Navraj Gill. Cassandra Giovinazzo. Samantha Barbara Giuliano. Jesse Daniel Godin. Danielle Goitenich. Lucas Brian Goldson. Bernadette Fatima Goudarzi. Carice Graham. Katie Faye Green. Yumna Hai. Alana Grace Hall. Gina Ham. Kelsey Marie Hammett. Janelle Sarah Lillian Roseland Hanson. Ryan Harmouche. Courtney Jean Harnett. Colette Courtney Higa. Stephanie Henriquez. Kathy Hong. Alana Hobson. Sheila Maureen Hulbert. Montana Hunter. Colleen Irowa. Alicia Patricia Jack. Christopher George Arthur D. Jackson. Matthew Jackson. Sonia Monique Jakji. Sadia Jamal. Lydia Rachel James. Alexandra Tanya Jaworski. Kate Johnson. Emma Johnston. Manpreet Kaur Kalsi. Pavitha Kanagalingam. Richard Trevor Canary. Saya Karimi. Gregory Scott Kendall. Claire Elizabeth Kenny. Mariam Khalil Mohammed. Sarah Kalik. Keethana Kirichandran. Natasha Knappett. Erica Rose Kokayan. Irina Isabel Kostishin. Jeremy Kwame Kie. Shannon Catherine Elizabeth Labelle. Taylor Lambert. Brittany Suzanne Langstaff. Kevin Liao. Sarah Lepeak. Chanel Coretta Lewis. Chi Lee. Naila Sanderson Loban. Matthew Alexander Lusek. Giselle Lute. Samantha Joyce Mars Crowell. Katrina McGee. Erin Lee Mannix. Ishtaya Manikam. Ahmad Iqtidar Manzoor. Michelle Delina Marcil. Angela Marcin. Emma Marsden. Brennan Alexander Mascotto Carbone. Lindsay Erin McCann. Christina Catherine McKay. Nicole Christie McMullen Cook. Fiona Catherine McPherson. Natalie Olivia Meisenburg. Lina Ayorka Mensa. Monica Michael. Melanie Midas. Alicia Catherine Ann Mount. Jennifer Nancy May Mullen. Millie Muniz. Jenan Nasser. Jonathan Ngaleka. Emily Jocelyn Nicol. Catherine Scarlett O'Brien. Michael O'Neill. Melissa Palermo. Veronica Ikes Panchishin. Daniel Antonio Paonessa. Rathani Parameswaran. Alaha Ashley Pardis. Maria Christina Parent. Julia Seo Yun Park. Denise Naomi Pasanha. Samantha de Souza Pavo. Morgan Tobias Perota. Rohini Pasod. Erica Taylor Pettinato. Casey Fowl. Heather Margaret Pleely. Sarah Michelle Porkatai. Nicole Elizabeth Prazeres. Laura Adriana Preston. Hilary Ann Quantrill. Leah Margaret Rahman. Josie Marie Rainville. Chetna Ramesur. Shannon Marie Ramsey. Carly Patricia Rennie. Stella Rocha Ribeiro. Crisia Marie Ann Rickerfort. Emily Louise Marie Richard. Ashley Riddell. Danielle Dorothy Roberts. Alicia Renee Russo. Tahmina Saba. Layal Saba. Navneet Kaur Sahota. Mohadessa Saki. Madison Moira Salter. Mpepa Sabala Sandukia. Bakavia Sathya Asilan. Amelia Savoy. Brianne Schuit. Roma Sharma. Katrina Alana Shaw. Mackenzie Blair Shukar. Vada Ahmed Siddiqui. Jaspel Kaur Sidhu. Jennifer Seakill. Sierra Ashley Silva. Megan Simpkins. Avneet Singh. Sheena Sisivath. Bartkef Sivaslian. Carolyn Grace Stearns. Carly Ryan Lily Stevens. Cassandra Nicole Stevens. Tayyiba Sultani. Carolyn Elizabeth Taylor. Coco Tian. Grami Tien. Sarah Ann Tomaszewski. Sandy Tran. Sasha Amanda Tulk. Bailey Vida. Jennifer Van. Heather Therese Van Hee. Amanda Vignier. Michelle Fabik. Kayira Walker Garcia. Brittany Walsh. Dominic Walter. Chantel Nicole Vardek. Haley Rose Woods. Samantha Margaret Wright. Leslie Chi Mian Yuen.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Social Work. Michael Abraham. Gia Chowdhury. Samantha Farrell. Nicole Christensen. Eric Robert Lickers. Jessie Elizabeth Stern. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Social Work Honors. Madam Chancellor, we have a revision. May I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Social Work. Robin Ballantyne. Saida Fahima Begum. Neha Behal. Sonia Blake. Sharon Brown. Lauren Patricia Bice. Juliana Diller. Jessie Alexandra Rose Faber. Sean Michael Ferguson. Sarah Marie Victoria Hugh. Jody Kleinstra. Cindy Lamb. Sarah Jessica Lingley. Michelle Ashley McDonald. Courtney Woodall McInnes. Kartika Mian. Marta Malepa. Laura Elizabeth Nugent. Emily Ann Scott. Laura Joanne Stothert. Sarah Thornley. Megan Walker. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Social Work. Kaylin Maureen Bell. Erica Chapa. Eminent Dagnachu. Brenda Law. Tammy Lynn LaBelle. Manjeet Kaur Mandar. Alicia Norton. Tatiana Michelle Ortiz. Michelle Rolfe. Kate Alexandria Rush. Suzanne Todd Kane. Fatma Abdusatter Adam. Robin Cecile Wilcox.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Arts. Fareen Ahmad. Shinthia Baral. Caitlin Amanda Beattie. Leslie Buckmaster. Christine Eloisa de Losa Caparas. Josie Dawn Cordera. Natalie Marie Cohen. Olivia D'Alessandro. Judel de Souza. Danielle R. Davis. Shimran Dillon. Jana Estrada. Shi Feng. Shane Kenneth Gasco. Noor Gadar. Jonathan Grant. Oreta Hermes. Alexandra Elizabeth Hood. Linda Hoying. On Yi Ip. Sarah Jama. Adam Abdul Khan. Claire Marie Kinsella. Leah Michelle Conning. Madison Sidney Krofchick. Lisa Liang. Carol Ann Lobo. Sandra Lynn Makino. Julia Lauren Marconi. Tori Dre McDonald. Mitchell Brian McIsaac. Jordan McJanet. Marcus Pereira Mendes. Daniel Joel Mercier. Mark David Millan. Katie Mines. Abigail Moody. James Morrison. Colleton John Murray. Marco Pacifico Napoleone. Megan Ashley Richard. Gwen Rogers. Hayley Rogers. Javel Blue Sakina. Sugenja Sri Satgunaraja. Nanthusa Siratharan. Alistair Levis Sylvester. Sondra Silvasi. Samantha Rose Shipula. Samantha Madison Valvasori. Daniel Nicole van der Laan. Rebecca Lindsay Vine. Lara Jean Walker. Michael Colin Edward Wilson. Kausar Yassin. Khadija Zafar. Jesse Zavadsky.
So please join me in one more round of applause for all of the newest graduates of the class of 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Ms. Atya Bashizada, a graduate of the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors in Social Psychology. Atya will now deliver the valedictory address.
Well, at least we can see that I can, see over the podium. That was one of my concerns. But good morning, graduates, Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, Provost Wilkinson, honored guests, faculty, family, and friends. First and foremost, I invite you to take a deep breath with me and just relax. Our months of effort, dedication, and hard work have all finally culminated in this monumental moment. I say this for not only the graduates, but for our faculty members, friends, and families as well. This has been a journey that has included all of us. In the next few minutes, I would like to attempt to synthesize the experience that this academic journey has involved. I say attempt because no amount of time and no number of words would ever be able to fully capture the path that has led us to where we are today. As students in the Faculty of Social Sciences at McMaster, we set out with a pretty lofty goal: to better understand the very world we live in. And learn we did. We learned about so many different dimensions of the social world, about human relationships and social interactions, about cultures, economies, and political systems, about religions, ideologies, and belief systems. What we learned sometimes challenged our worldviews. We discovered new lenses through which to view the world. We grew not only as students, but as mindful individuals and critical citizens. Each of us brought different histories and biographies to our studies that uniquely shaped our experiences here at McMaster. Like many of our graduates here today, my journey was shaped by coming from a first-generation immigrant family. My parents completed post-secondary education back home in Afghanistan, but here in Canada, I'm the first in my family to earn a university degree. The unwavering support of my family helped me every step of the way. In fact, if it were not for my uncle, I may never have had the opportunity to stand here as I am doing today. I knew as I made my way through my studies that I carried with me not only my own hopes, dreams, and ambitions, but theirs as well. Graduates, this degree and day is monumental because it is an affirmation of our family's belief in us, the sacrifices they have made to support us and help us get here. And as with any journey worth taking, this one did not come without its challenges and struggles. Graduates, you know as well as I do that the path has not always been smooth. There have been bumps along the way. Some of us experience the challenge of balancing our studies with other commitments, like family obligations, or the demands of the jobs we work to help pay for our studies, or the extracurricular and volunteer activities we got involved with. Some of us struggled with mental or physical illness, anxiety, or loss of confidence. Most of us, probably even all of us, experienced failure in one way or another during our time here. However, sitting here as we are today, in my case standing, we are living proof that failure is not necessarily a bad thing. As Denzel Washington pointed out in a recent commencement address he gave at the University of Pennsylvania, falling can be a good thing, so long as we fall forward. Falling forward means learning from our mistakes so that when we get up, we are that much further ahead. In all likelihood, we will fall again as we continue our life journeys, but that's okay, because we know now that with failure comes growth. We know that we will rise again, stronger, hopefully wiser, and confident in our ability to persevere and ultimately succeed within our own personal interpretations of success. And then there are all those who have been our companions and fellow travelers along the way, our friends, significant others, family, and faculty members. Let's take a moment to thank them. Thank you to our amazing professors who taught, challenged, and inspired us. On a personal note, I want to particularly thank Dr. Sarah Clancy, whose passion for teaching rekindled in me at a pivotal moment the passion for learning that first brought me to university. Thank you to all our friends and companions, especially those who kept us company through the all-nighters and panic attacks that struck as deadlines loomed, cursing us out for leaving everything to the last minute, but cheering us on nonetheless. Thank you to family members for just doing everything, driving us to classes, picking us up from bus stops, feeding us or providing us with care packages, encouraging us, supporting us, challenging us, and just loving us, even when maybe we weren't being so lovable. As this journey ends, there are new journeys ahead for each of us. To those of you heading into the work world, may your bosses be decent and may your Wi-Fi be speedy. To those of you continuing your education, remember that caffeine is not a food group and sleep is necessary for human survival. To those of you taking a break to finally relax and maybe travel and try new things, may your Instagram selfies always have good lighting and trending hashtags. Wherever we go, we will always carry McMaster with us because McMaster is not a community bound by its campus walls. It is a community that lives everywhere and anywhere we go, because we are now and forever will be part of the McMaster family. And in fact, I think Dr. Hayes was a very good example of that today, 4 degrees later. So to conclude, I'd like to leave you with some wise words from Dr. Seuss. In your next journey to come, you'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange things as you go. So be sure when you step with great care and great tact. And remember that life's just a great balancing act. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. So graduates, join me in marking this, our final steps in our McMaster journey, and in heralding all the wonderful journeys yet to come. So, to the 2017 graduating class of the social sciences, we made it.
Thank you, Atya. May I now call upon our President, Patrick Dean, who will present the President's Award for Excellence in Student Leadership.
Would Sonia Hill please come up onto the platform? As Sonia Hill completed her honors Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology and Indigenous Studies, she built a strong legacy of contributions to the McMaster community, many of them focused on and extending from her academic program. Sonia was an active student researcher who received a grant to join the Indigenous Undergraduate Summer Research Scholars Program, where her project examined the sublet housing market in Hamilton. She was also the assistant coordinator of the Indigenous Studies 4LO3 research exchange that sent Indigenous students to New Zealand. Sonia volunteered as the community liaison for the Cooperative of Indigenous Studies Students and Alumni, or CISA, where she played a key role in connecting with the Hamilton community, area high schools, and the Six Nations and New Credit Indigenous communities. As coordinator of the Indigenous Students and Studies Welcome Week, Sonia was one of the founders and organizers of what is destined to become a long-time McMaster tradition of welcoming students to campus and to the Indigenous Studies program. Sonia served as the coordinator of the Mentorship Program, an initiative that promotes dialogue between Indigenous and non-Indigenous students at McMaster, with a specific focus on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action. Congratulations, Sonia. Really well done.
Congratulations, Sonia. May I now call upon Dr. Jeremiah Hurley, Dean of Social Sciences, who will be presenting the MAPS Gold Medal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present the MAPS Gold Medal, which is awarded for outstanding academic achievements to a part-time student. I'm pleased to announce that the winner is Sandra McKeno. Sandra, please come up.
Congratulations, Sandra. May I now introduce Mr. Don Bridgman, President of the McMaster Alumni Association, who will deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and especially the members of the McMaster class of 2017. First time we did this, it was 123 years ago, and there were only 16 of you. The events of commencement, as the Convocation was known then, were a little different than today's ceremony. In 1894, McMaster's first Convocation included a sermon, the reading of graduate theses. Yes, they read them aloud, word for word. And the conferring of 60 honorary degrees. The black graduation gowns back then were made of alpaca and lined with white satinette for the arts grads and lavender for the graduates from theology. One of the graduates wearing alpaca that day was a young woman named Elizabeth Wells. She later published a description of the ceremony in Canadian Magazine, And in that article, she wrote of McMaster's first convocation, "The enthusiasm shown by students who sat massed in the body of the large assembly showed plainly that they were filled with the spirit of loyalty to their university." I'm not sure if 16 people in alpaca gowns counts as a mass, but the feelings of enthusiasm and pride were likely very valid observation. I hope that today you have similar feelings of enthusiasm and pride. I know I did when I graduated. Today, our university is very different from the McMaster that Elizabeth Wells knew 123 years ago, and our institutional history and credentials are far more robust. Today, I hope that your McMaster has earned your enthusiasm and loyalty through its service, excellence, leadership, and accomplishment, just as you have worked hard to earn our pride in you and our loyalty to you as you become the newest members of the Mac alumni family. The McMaster Alumni Association's goal is to take your connection to McMaster beyond the feelings that are so strong today and help make it into a lifelong connection of substance. In your lives as alumni, the association will work to keep you connected. You'll receive our alumni magazine, the McMaster Times, the e-newsletter Maroon Mail, and you can be part of the association's digital communities. As our most recent grads, you can participate in Mac 10, a program designed for you featuring events, career assistance, and mentoring opportunities. Take a few minutes after the ceremony to complete our "How Maroon Are You" quiz noted on the card you found on your seat today to have a little fun reflecting on your time at McMaster. It will also lead you to our alumni website where you can learn more about what being a member of the Alumni Association can do for you. So to the class of 2017, I offer my most sincere congratulations on your academic accomplishment and on your graduation. You should be extremely proud of your accomplishment. I know I certainly am proud of your accomplishments. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you, Don. May I invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver his President's address.
Madam Chancellor, honored guests, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, graduates. Being able to say a few words at the end of a convocation ceremony is one of the great privileges of this job. And I thought today I would like to speak a little to you about changing currents and profiles of Canadian society and what the future might hold. I want to begin with something that I imagine is very dear to the hearts of social scientists. This is the restoration of Canada's mandatory long-form census. It was restored, I'm sure many of you will remember, approximately 18 months ago. At the time, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, the Honourable Navdeep Bains, asserted that Canadians were, this is a quote from him, reclaiming their right to accurate and reliable information, on the basis of which they would be able to make sound decisions about their personal futures and the national future. Then last August, with the 2016 Census of Population complete, the nation's chief statistician, Wayne Smith, pronounced it the best census ever, that is a direct quote, with an overall response rate of 98.4%, which I suppose provides evidence of our very profound desire to stand up and be counted. A few weeks ago, at the start of May, Statistics Canada released a second series of data derived from the census, this time bearing on the age and sex of the Canadian population. And the report made big news. It made big news because of what the 2016 census had revealed, namely that Canada has, in the last few years, undergone a very significant generational shift. Here's a quote from the report. As a result of the rapid increase in the number of people 65 years of age and older since 2011, 2016 marked the first time that the census enumerated more seniors, at 5.9 million, than children 14 years of age and younger at 5.8 million. Well, what does this mean? One thing it tells us is that the Canadian population is aging, not that we didn't already know that, in some crude sense at least. But the census story is all about changing proportions. For the first time since Confederation in 1867, the seniors' share of the population now exceeds the children's share. And the group in between, that is to say those between 15 and 64, in which I imagine most of today's graduates are to be found, is shrinking as a proportion of the total population. Now, I'm an English professor, not a social scientist, so I know I have a right to this kind of information, but to be frank, I never know quite what to do with it. The StatsCan report tells me that such knowledge, here's a quote from the report again, will be especially helpful for adapting social programs for children, adults, and seniors to the new demographic reality. But I wonder about that. Undoubtedly, it will help us identify and understand the new demographic reality, but what it will mean to adapt to that reality is much more than a statistical question, although perhaps the answers begin with an understanding of the statistics. Implicit in the phrase demographic reality is an assumption that certain consequences must inevitably follow the shift. For example, that funding for health and social programs will now move proportionately to favor the aging and the elderly, even as the working population that must pay for those programs is shrinking. That may be logical, and providing proper care to the elderly, no matter how numerous they are, should be a non-negotiable requirement in a civilized nation. But there are nevertheless vitally important questions that we must still ask about the condition of and the prospects for the younger generation in this scenario. Now, these are especially important questions to ask in 2017, as Canada marks 150 years as a nation. Anniversaries like this provoke retrospection, and they also provide an opportunity for jingoism and mindless patriotic fervor. And I dare say we'll see some of that in this country when July the 1st rolls around. But so far, this country has taken note of its special year in a fairly muted fashion, recognizing, especially on university campuses and in the wake of the Truth and Reconciliation Report and its calls to action, that while there is a considerable amount to celebrate in our history, there is also much to mourn and to think about, much about which we should be thoughtful and critical. Our sesquicentennial is also an occasion to look into the future, imagining what Canada will become in the next 50 or 100 years. And it is in that context that the 2016 census results are, for me, so thought-provoking. We're being told that a far-reaching and unprecedented generational shift is happening right now, just as we're running the anniversary flag up the pole. And interestingly, it is a shift that sends us back to our last big national event, the centennial in 1967. It is interesting because that year coincided with another very significant and related generational shift. The middle of the 60s is generally understood to be the end point of the baby boom, the population surge which began in 1946 after the end of the Second World War. And it is the aging members of that generation whose entry into the ranks of seniors over the last few years have given rise to the demographic changes that the 2016 census recently revealed. Now, I'm a baby boomer, and it was my generation that seemed so incomprehensible to our parents that a special term had to be coined to describe the phenomenon. That term was the generation gap. And one experienced the generation gap as significant and sometimes profound differences of opinion about music, politics, personal values, and a host of other topics. Families like my own became cultural battlegrounds. I remember my father inexplicably, to me at least, being plunged into red-faced fury when he discovered in my elder brother's clothing drawer a pair of blue jeans. And worse than that, blue jeans with an applique floral design. There was also a shirt with, of all things, offensive puffed sleeves. I think you all know enough about fashions from the 60s to be able to imagine this. Now, my own differences with my parents were less sartorial than they were political in nature. But as I've reflected on those times, I've come to understand that those two categories of resistance, political and resistance in terms of dress, were for my generation not really separable. To a degree not since seen in the West, how, or indeed whether, one clothed one's body was contested terrain between the generations, a language through which others, sometimes deeply divergent views expressed themselves. Now, as most of you know, the generation gap was a term invented by sociologists, building on the theory of generations developed by Karl Mannheim in the 1920s. For Mannheim, a generation was not simply a cohort of people born and achieving maturity between specified years. It was such a cohort for sure, but it was also one upon which certain major historical events had registered an impact. A generation was, in other words, shaped by its particular historical experience. Mine was, for example, post-war and post-Hiroshima, but definitely not post-nuclear, as we lived in daily apprehension of a nuclear apocalypse. My wife remembers that as a child in school, she was trained to climb under her desk and cover her head in anticipation of an atomic blast, as if that would help. It would be indeed surprising if such practices had not left an indelible mark on the generation for which they were routine and normal. While the 2016 Canadian population census seems to confirm that we're in the midst of a decisive generational shift, it is obviously far too early to speculate on the qualitative dimensions of whatever gap might open up between your generation and mine. Indeed, it is entirely possible, notwithstanding Mannheim's implication that some sort of generational consciousness must inevitably emerge, that dislocation and discontinuity will not define the ways in which we relate to each other. There will certainly be economic and other consequences of the aging of the Canadian population. And especially today, as I speak to an auditorium full of graduates from the Faculty of Social Sciences, I'm acutely conscious of some of them. Most obviously, the increasing strain on the healthcare system as seniors come to outnumber children and the active wealth-producing workforce shrinks. Looking into the future, as one does on occasions such as this, and as our nation will do on July the 1st, it is obvious that significant challenges lie ahead as the torch passes from one generation to the next. But I am profoundly hopeful about the future because of my faith in all of you. The well-known anthropologist Margaret Mead published in 1970 a serious study of intergenerational relations. The book was called Culture and Commitment, a study of the generation gap, in which she beautifully captured the service which every new generation performs for its society and for humanity at large. The young, she wrote, are free to act on their initiative and can lead their elders in the direction of the unknown. The young, she continues, must ask the questions that we would never think to ask, and through creativity, curiosity, and innovativeness, find answers that their elders cannot imagine. I have worked in universities for more than 40 years and have always, indeed increasingly, been invigorated by the way in which students have sought to challenge received wisdom and to advance the human, intellectual, and social project. If there was ever a gap between us, and I suppose following Mannheim that there must always be at least some intergenerational discontinuities, I have strained to hear your voices from the other side of the gap, to learn from what you've had to say, and from what you have done. Margaret Mead felt that while the young should be free to act on their initiative, they also needed somehow to re-establish trust with their elders, quote, so that the elders will be permitted to work with them on the answers. According to that vision of generational shift, then, your future is a project on which we collaborate. My generation providing what knowledge and wisdom we can, but depending on you to surpass us in making this a brighter world. I haven't dwelt on the challenges you will face, except, of course, for the looming healthcare problem. And I haven't talked more broadly about the role of my generation in creating some of those challenges that you face. This is meant to be an upbeat occasion, after all. But if you need to trust us in order to seek the solutions you seek, to achieve the solutions you seek, we need to admit our failings and shortcomings and trust to your energy, creativity, and positive values. I became an educator 4 decades ago, not just for something to do, but for something I wanted to see created, a better, more just society. The well-being of people and of the communities they comprise has been my preoccupation. And unlike many of my peers, I do not believe that my generation was unique in its idealism, its altruism, and its social conscience. I know from working with many of you that those 3 things are as much, if not more, alive amongst you than they ever were amongst my peers. And that is, in its own way, a bit of a miracle, an encouraging miracle, given the state of the world that we're in the process of handing over to you. We delight in your success, we are in awe of your talent, and we are enormously excited to see where you will take us. My very best wishes go with you all.
Thank you very much, President Dean. I think his last sentence really sums up what everybody here on stage would echo, and so we thank you very much for saying it in a way that is probably far more graceful than the rest of us could. So first of all, congratulations to the class of 2017. As a Federal McMaster alumni, I'm looking forward to seeing where you all go from here. But I'm going to go back, as President Dean did, for a little bit in the past, because I realized it's 50 years ago that I graduated from here. And I'm going to admit, I don't remember who the president was. I also can't tell you who the chancellor was. There may have been words of wisdom spoken, but I don't remember them. Now, I'm not going to say it can't possibly be because I wasn't listening, nor could it possibly be because there weren't any of them, but more likely that, like most of my education at McMaster, I absorbed the information, I absorbed the thoughts, I absorbed the wisdom, which you got from your valedictorian, from our honorary degree recipient, and from the president. And it became part of what I am and part of what I look forward to as I decided what choices to make as I went out in the world. And I hope that it has the same effect on you. But I want to come back to what I do remember of the day, which was the ritual and the standing there, particularly at the end of the day, having pictures taken with my proud parents who was there as I graduated. Because today is your day. It's an individual day. Yes, you're all here as a group, but each of you got your own degree. You were hooded separately, and there's a reason for that. It is your personal work that got you to where you are. You couldn't have made it, and we all know that, without the support of your family, your friends, your professors, and I'm sure an even larger group than that. But you had to be willing to accept that help. You had to be able to absorb it and grow with it and learn. And it's with that that you stand here on your own. And you'll find that there are very few occasions in life where you are recognized individually. And today is one of them. So I want to congratulate each of you individually for what you have accomplished and to wish you all the very, very best as you go forward. Now, I have just a couple of housekeeping items to tell you about before we close. Immediately following the ceremony, a reception will be held for the graduates and their guests in the Hamilton Convention Center, Wentworth Room B and C. Flowers that have been delivered for the graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. And I would ask that you all please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. Finally, please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.